Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lab Rats Entertainment Podcast. My name is Ezra, and I'm joined by Ahmad, Sawyer, Caleb. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
good.
Happy to be recording
All
today.
right,
Happy
Trying
to
to
be
stay-
all
recording.
right.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has. We've taken 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
Mostly because last week I didn't get around to doing anything, and the week before was just a crazy week. So it's been a bad time. 2020 is awful. You already know that.
Yeah.
Let's get started. We have some very exciting news from yesterday, I believe. Caleb, you're the one who heard about this, so can you give us the juicy details?
Alrighty. So this is coming from. Let me look real quick. This is coming from. This is first reported by DR Movie News, and it seems legit. Disney confirms that Tron 3 is officially in development. Let's go!
Let's
Boom!
I'm so excited, y'all.
It finally happened.
It's no secret that on this podcast we are all Tron.
We're all major fans.
Yeah.
We're Tron and we're proud. I mean, there's some haters out there. Don't get me wrong. There are people who don't think that Tron Legacy is one of the better live-action films, if not the best one.
The best live-action film ever made.
The best film ever made.
I would hesitate to even call that movie live action, really.
Yeah, it's kind of in between. It's a little that's arguable, but here's what I want. Here's what I want. I mean that. So it's sorry, I cut you off. You can go ahead and describe.
It's just the report says that Jared Leto is reportedly in talks to star. A director search is underway, but the studio is hopeful that Tron Legacy director Joseph Kosinski returns, as well as Daft Punk for the score. That's the quote
All
from.
good things.
Oh yes.
Although, what's the consensus on Jared Leto nowadays? I'm not exactly sure.
Thumbs up. I mean, I'm excited. I think Jared is gonna. I'm definitely. I know, Caleb. You haven't seen Blade Runner 2049.
Not yet. No.
Just give me something like that. Just because Jared Leto's in this, I'm not saying that just because Jared Leto's in this, it's gonna be the same thing. But I'm hoping, the color palette of that film. I feel like that same kind of dystopian feeling. Having something not going too far from what made Tron Legacy good, but maybe improving on, because I mean that movie wasn't really as critically acclaimed. I mean, Disney, I think Disney regarded the movie as almost like a flop, if I'm not mistaken.
Unfortunately,
it made its money back, though. I think.
I think it was a slight disappointment from their projections. It definitely made its money back. It just did. I think they were projecting for it to be like a Pirates of the Caribbean level success, and it just
they were running something that was like of Star Wars level with that film because they didn't have Star Wars at the time, so they were working at from what it seemed like they were working to build franchises that would be of Star Wars quality. Like if I'm not mistaken, John Carter came out around that time too, and wasn't that supposed to be?
I forgot about this.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think that Tron Legacy succeeded because it captured all of our imaginations just as much as. I mean, I don't want to say Tron Legacy is at the same level as some of the better Star Wars movies, but it still captured our imaginations. If I'm not speaking crazily here, but John Carter, when I first saw the movie, I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was pretty good. I might get some lashback for that. My film credit is now ripped away from me, but I didn't think it was horrible.
It's all good. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I love the film. I think that it has one of the best scores of all time. And y'all can, I will defend Tron Legacy's soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I mean,
To the end, like that.
dude, I literally, I think I already told you guys this. I don't know if I have, but me and my brothers used to make paper discs and act like we were in Tron.
Oh, that's cool.
And we just throw it at each other, and if you get hit by it, you're out. You're what's
Derezzed, I think.
Derezzed, yeah. And we'd act like we were just fell into like millions of pixels or something. But no, I'm excited. I know, like I told you before the podcast. I was talking to you guys about it, but I didn't see Tron Legacy in theaters, and I really wish I could have, just to be able to hear that Daft Punk soundtrack just like kind of full force.
Yeah,
must be an experience.
There was something about that full darkness and being that in the big screen, and when you're transported into the grid, and it's all like the theater aesthetic really matched well, I think, with Tron.
Yeah,
and
the grid.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
like,
Mod, you said it,
yeah.
right? Just get Jeff Bridges to say the grid once, and then we're all on board, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'll stand up and clap. You already know. No,
oh man.
I think we when we were talking about it before the podcast. I don't. They could if they wanted to bring back Jeff Bridges. I mean, that's fine. I'm fine with them leaving him kind of his story how it ended. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Just interested if they're gonna bring back I forget the son character Flynn. What's that? I forgot his name.
Oh, Sam?
The son character and
Wasn't it Sam?
Yeah, Sam Flynn and Olivia Wilde's character.
Yeah.
I'm curious if them back because I mean if I were them I don't know if I would want to come back after after what happened, but who knows?
You could get a lot of things out of money.
That's true. But Jared Leto, I'm excited for him. Yeah, the big bad, hopefully, maybe. But
from what I read, it looked kind of interesting that Kosinski, it seems very likely comes back because he's been wanting to do this for a while. And looking at his IMDb slate, he doesn't really have anything in production right now.
Ooh.
So his last one was he wrapped up Top Gun Maverick just wrapped up, and that was his last thing he worked on. So he's available.
Right. Ooh.
yeah.
And I'm sure if they got paid enough, Daft Punk would do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But what I read, it seems like this, if it is the same script that they had been talking about, because Kosinski had said they had a completed script a while back.
Right.
Because if you remember, this movie was supposed to originally come out around 2015, but after Tomorrowland flopped, Disney canceled.
That's right.
So we were supposed to get it 5 years ago, and now they're doing this again. So I'm just crossing my fingers that, Mulan doesn't flop or whatever the next live action Disney movie is, and then it gets canceled again or something like that.
I should have campaigned harder for Tomorrowland.
I mean, I didn't see
Someone
Tomorrowland.
pull a time machine.
Back in the timeline.
If Dwayne Johnson flops, then they might just pull a plug in Jungle Fever.
Jungle Book or
no, Jungle Cruise.
Jungle Cruise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jungle Cruise.
Forgot.
I could see Jungle Cruise flopping. It could just be like another Tomorrowland. Just pull the plug on Tron. You see, here's the thing.
That would be so depressing, man.
I would literally. That would be so sad. I would be depressed.
Well, I'm surprised that Artemis Fowl didn't kill it because Artemis Fowl got bad reviews.
Yeah.
That movie sucked. I mean,
Artemis Fowl been in production for like 10 years.
Yeah, it had very long.
That movie looks like it literally should have came out like 2010.
I think it was
That's
supposed
funny. That's really
You're
funny.
probably right. But the moral of the
I think
story.
from what I read about the cast for Tron Legacy coming back, that they were in talks, but if this is the same script from the last time, that it could be kind of more of a side story where those characters return, but they're not the main characters. And Jared Leto's character is the main character.
Oh, interesting.
That'd be kind of cool. So the one question is, do we get Cillian Murphy as the villain like we were supposed to?
Ooh.
I really hope
I
we
hope
do,
so.
because if we get the original plan for, I think it was called Tron Ascendance, that we were supposed to get as a sequel to Legacy, I really hope we get that movie, because that sounded so cool.
Yeah, that's
I want it.
I see Jared Leto being. So at first I thought of him as more of the villain, but now that you mentioned Murphy, I think that Jared Leto might be who are the breed of like Olivia Wilde. She's like the last.
I'm on the Wikipedia here.
Is
It's
it ISOs? I think it's the ISOs.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
Jared Leto being like a newfound ISO or something, or like somebody who got away, and I could see that happening and him being the main character in that instance.
I
Yeah,
could
that would be
see
pretty neat.
I could see him being somehow related
ISO.
to Rinsler was his name?
That was
Yeah.
Tron.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
Rinsler.
yeah. No.
Rinsler / Tron is
No.
the.
Zeus. That's who.
Oh,
Oh, Zeus.
Yes, I could see him having some sort of either him playing as Zeus or like someone that's remotely similar, or
You don't think we're gonna get Michael Sheen back as Zeus?
I don't know.
Yeah, dude,
That would be great.
I'm thinking of like I don't know. This is crazy, but like Mad Max Tron, like I don't know. I
I'd be
don't
cool
know how
with
they
that.
would make it happen, but like that would be pretty interesting.
I don't know if the aesthetic is right for a Mad Max esque.
Like more of like a chase. I don't know. I'm thinking out of my. I don't know, like it's not.
I guess that's kind of what I'm saying. Like Mad Max is very like visceral and
Yeah.
like it tries to be as realistic as possible, whereas Tron is
Oh, I
very
see.
sleek and sci-fi and
That may not have been a very good, but like that,
But
hopefully,
yeah, I get what you're saying though with the chase.
yeah.
something more like I guess different than what they tried to do with Legacy, or they have a different spin on something.
They're gonna have to retcon that somehow, because if you remember at the end of Legacy, spoilers for a movie that came out a decade ago, but the grid was destroyed.
That's what I was
So
thinking.
Yeah.
they're gonna have to retcon.
It's like a I guess that's why I really said Mad Max, because it's more of like a desolate kind of I don't know what they're gonna do. What's like the kind of post-apocalyptic feel for. I mean,
I need
which
to watch that movie again.
yeah, which it kind of felt like. I mean, in a weird way, the movie. I loved some of the scenes that I really thought they kind of explored in the show, the cartoon show, the city, and that kind of more a Blade Runner kind of vibe. I maybe exploring that a little more. That'd be interesting.
That would be cool.
Oh yeah. Get Roger Deakins as your cinematographer, and we're.
Oh, I would love. I'd freak out. That would be awesome.
I would like to see more of the
Insane
world.
movie.
What we all really want is to watch the trailer and then just see the words from director Chris Nolan.
Oh no!
That's what we really want to see.
No.
Let's be frank.
Dude, honestly, Chris Nolan, Roger Deakins, Tron Legacy,
and then Cillian Murphy would be a shoo-in.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yo, Tom Hardy, get him.
Oh, Tom Hardy and Tron. Don't excite me too much.
I'm thinking like Tom Hardy. I mean, I don't know if this would make any sense, but like almost like a Tron Grinsler character.
Yeah. Well, you know what this would mean? It would mean that if that happened, then we would get Michael Caine in Tron.
Come
Dude,
back to reality, Sam.
Michael Caine. Just get the whole Chris Nolan. Just
It turns out it was the sequel to Inception all along.
Exactly.
DiCaprio is in the post-credits scene.
The same technology to go into the grid is the same technology that's going into Dreams.
Oh man,
Now we're getting into Dream Drop distance level.
that's some like Galaxy Brain fan fiction writing right there.
Oh yeah, somehow we've all tied it back to Dream Drop distance with dreams within Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
No, I'm really excited. Hopefully, they don't pull the plug on this one.
Yes. I just want it to come out. If it's bad, then it's bad. But I just want it to come out.
Right.
Yeah. I'm hoping it'll be like a critical and commercial success. Like, I mean, that's what I hope for any movie, but like for Tron specifically, because I just want. Hopefully, if it goes right, then maybe they do have a franchise to build off of.
The weird thing to me is that like, if you forget Kingdom Hearts, because Kingdom Hearts is not a part of this. Like, they didn't really forget about Tron during these years. Like let me look it up.
It's kind of it's not really like ashamed or not ashamed, but they're not trying to implement any of the Tron stuff in the games or other and like they made a show for it. The show wasn't bad.
The show did not get viewed though. That was the problem. It's the cartoon. Nobody watched it.
Yeah.
Nobody,
like there was a whole they made the cartoon. There was the Tron Endless Runner game that came out in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's a lot of there's been a lot of Tron stuff that's come out.
right.
The thing here is that Disney World is getting a Tron roller coaster right now.
Oh yeah.
They're literally building it in Florida right
I
now.
forgot about that. Yeah. And I was there like a year ago and it was Tron Evolution. I just got a PS3 again, so maybe I'll play Tron Evolution and come back with a report. I bet it's like $5 too.
Yeah, probably. You're cutting out, Sawyer.
The gameplay in Evolution, I remember it was pretty generic. It's your standard third-person action game, but the story and aesthetics are pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a good prequel to Tron Legacy.
Oh yeah.
I hope we get it. I mean, it only took a decade to get here, but at the same time, that's less of a wait than it took to get from Tron 1 to Tron 2.
That's
Very
true.
true.
I wonder if the discussion amongst people who liked the first movie when the sequel was coming out was like, did we want a sequel? Like, I don't who asked for this? Like, because you watch the first movie and it doesn't really beget a sequel. Like, it doesn't seem like it needs to be there.
I mean that people probably had. I mean, I hadn't seen or I didn't even know about the first one before I had seen the Tron Legacy. But I see potential in just the Tron universe. I
agree.
Tron is like, as much as I hate on, and I'm sure you guys are the same way, is like franchises and making kind of getting cash grabs out of things. I think that Tron Legacy, the Tron universe, is one of the only kind of worlds that I'd like to see a franchise kind of come through. Because I think that they could. I mean, Sawyer mentioned it, and I'm on the same boat, but really exploring the world more so. That's what I did with like the city. There's sequences in the city that I thought were cool, or even in the bar, that epic fight, that epic sequence. But like, really, I wouldn't mind if they built a franchise on this movie. I hope that they do it right.
Yeah. I think it's a good. This movie actually goes straight to Disney Plus.
Oh, I mean,
I don't know how credible the interview was, but there was some interview. I think it was somebody who works in Walt Disney Records who was talking about getting Daft Punk back for another Tron soundtrack, and he had said now that Disney in theatrical releases is so focused on these massive blockbusters that have to make their money back. Now with Disney Plus, they can do some smaller mid-budget movies that don't have to have massive Star Wars-sized budgets. So we could see a Tron Disney Plus movie rather than a massive $300 million theatrical release.
That should be cool.
That could be cool. Hopefully, if they do that, hopefully it's done right.
Yeah, if there still has to be enough of a budget to where they get to tell the film they intended to make. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it still has
when
that.
This movie isn't exactly. I don't want it to look cheap either. The
Right.
CG is good.
Because when I see, hopefully when I see this movie, if it gets a theatrical release, what I'm expecting is I'm expecting visuals that are better than, I mean, the 2000, like with the advancements in face, like the the aging technology, and also just everything overall. I just expect to see something visually stunning. I mean, that's one of the reasons what's one of the things that captivated me about the first one. I mean, or about Tron Legacy rather, and even the first one. That's what made it. That's what these movies are kind of known for. Is the two movies before is how kind of technically advanced they were for the time, or things that they introduced that weren't necessarily there before, like the de-aging technology that I became aware of because of that movie for the first time.
Yeah. And it's totally like PS3 graphics, but I'll take it. It was still revolutionizing, at least for me, because I actually, when I saw it, I actually thought it was real. I thought they paid a lookalike actor to be young Jeff Bridges, and they
I had no idea what was going on when I saw it. I was like, wait, what? How?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I didn't really know I had never seen the first one before, so I didn't really know what young Jeff Bridges even looked like.
Right.
So I just assumed that it was him.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, looking back, it was almost like a perfect use of it, just with the entire feeling of the movie. You mentioned it earlier on, so it's kind of arguable to call this movie live action. I mean, there's so much of it that's CGI. There's so much of it that's through computers. So like it's that it was almost like a perfect use in that sense of how kind of like.
It's also about going into the world of video games. So I guess if it looks kind of video gamey, it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. Which now when you go back and look at it, I mean, which is kind of crazy how much things have evolved. But it looks like something maybe that could have came like a video game now, maybe, or even maybe less.
Oh yeah, I'd totally be on board for like a full length Tron game. I think that would be fun.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Can you imagine a Rocksteady Tron game?
That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah,
that would be. All right, now we're going too far. Now that's too much. Unless Disney literally wants to buy WB Interactive, which is not impossible for them to do.
Well, Disney had an interview where they said they were completely willing and wanted to license out. They basically called on developers and said, we'll license out our characters for anybody who wants to make a game. They even cited Tron as one of those properties that they would license out. So
the problem is that I imagine Disney doesn't want to license out their characters to literally Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
Warner probably wouldn't get it, but I guess I don't know, maybe a Naughty Dog Tron game.
Oh man, there's precedent for the Sony. There's precedent with Spider-Man, so
that's true.
I mean, if there's a Tron game that's coming out that looks amazing, I'm picking that up. I'm picking it up.
After that Horizon trailer, anything is possible.
Yeah. That's true.
No, I'm excited for this movie. So they just announced that they haven't even. I don't know if they don't have a script.
There's not even a formal announcement.
Yeah, it's just in development.
2020 maybe or something. I have no idea.
I think I'm hopeful for anything before 2025.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of my. It's weird that that's only 5 years in the future, but yeah, that's what I would be hopeful for, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I think just to hear that there's somewhat of some inner workings going on at Disney is just good enough for me to celebrate right now. It's like, yes.
Just the fact that they have a completed script and a director in mind is at least a little bit of hope.
Yeah,
so it's enough.
So they have said, I believe that the interview that I mentioned earlier, I believe said that the script is complete.
So it might be earlier. It might be like 2023. I'm thinking, maybe
It depends on how long it takes to make.
2024, because I don't know. I mean, obviously, with production can't really start right now with the virus.
Right.
So I would say, assuming that it gets greenlit and it takes a year to shoot and do all that VFX, my money, I'm thinking on 2024.
Yeah, I would agree. 2023,
That makes sense,
2024. Yeah. I mean, 2024 is probably the safer.
Yeah.
No later than 2025. I think. If it doesn't,
Yeah, I think if it takes that long, then Disney should cut their losses and not make it,
yeah,
because it's not, at that point it's not worth continuing.
right. No,
All right. You guys have anything else you want to say about Tron 3 before we move on?
Let's hope it comes out before the year 2038, because 2038 marks approximately the same amount of time that it took Tron 1 to Tron Legacy. So please don't take another 30 years between them.
I don't even know if I'll be alive.
Be on the PS7 by that point. Cancer will have been cured. Hopefully cancer gets cured before that. Anyways,
we'll have gone completely bald by then.
Some of us might even have kids by that point. Who knows?
Oh man,
who knows?
Yeah,
that's literally 18 years from now. So if we have kids,
Tron 5 or 6 by that point. But
maybe one of us will direct it. Who knows?
That'd be cool.
Oh man, imagine that.
Can you imagine an Ahmad DP Tron movie? How good would that be?
That would be. I'd literally be able to say, yeah, I know a guy who directed Tron.
I would kickstart that. I would give money to the studio for that.
That'd be great.
I would go see that movie so many times, like I would lose count.
Heard it first. That would be a passion project.
Yeah.
I would expect us at the red carpet, Ahmad.
I mean, people in the first row. I mean, I would even get cameos. Why not?
Yeah. I want to be next to Zeus. I want to be in the bar next to Zeus.
He'll be right next to Zeus. As he wreaks havoc on some people with his cane.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
I'll be eating and I'll be just like, so good.
I want to get de-roast by Jeff Bridges.
Yes, that's what I want. I want to get killed. That's what I want to be in that movie. I want to die.
I want to be the equivalent of the guy who jumped off the little ledge as soon as he got off the ship. And I'm taking.
All right, let's move on. Ahmad, you watched a couple of movies that you thought were interesting. So can you tell us about those?
Yeah, I'll quickly go over that since we took forever on the Tron conversation, rightfully so. I have HBO Go, which is gonna end. Like they're gonna end the streaming service for that. I think the end of the month. But I saw Green Book on HBO Go, and I had been holding this movie off for so long because it won Best Picture, and I didn't want it to. I was hoping it won Best Picture 2018. I was hoping for either Black Klansman or Roma to win, and that movie won. And I think it was also received with mixed reviews, and it's still controversial to a certain extent. Some people consider it to be a white savior film. But here's what I think. I think that I really like the movie. I think that Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen. I think Viggo. I think that's his name. Viggo Mortensen. Right. They play off each other so well. I mean, you could say whatever you want to say about the film, and to a certain extent, I agree. But they're acting. I mean, Mahershala won supporting actor best Oscar, best supporting actor. He won an Oscar for it. And they just play off each other so well with the entirety of the film. So for people who don't know what the movie's about, so it follows the story of Don Shirley, a pianist who toured in the 1960s. I think it's 61. So this is like pre-civil rights movement, or it's kind of picking up. So it follows Don Shirley, who chooses to tour south, and because of this, he's kind of concerned about his well-being. Of course, being in that area, in that time, would be kind of concerning for someone like him. So he hires Viggo Mortensen, who was just like this dude who plays he's like a bouncer. He starts out like he's a bouncer at a bar, and then the bar closes down. So he looks for jobs and stuff. And what's interesting about his character is he's Italian, and like he there are opportunities early on for him to like join like an Italian mob, or like be like a roughster, like a typical mafia person. He gets like these opportunities by people, but he chooses to pass on those. He has a family. He has a wife and 2 kids. But he passes on those, and he decides to. He pursues something less shady, or something that won't take him down a pretty bad road. So he's also racist. At the start of the film, I don't know if any of you've seen this film.
No.
I haven't seen it.
No.
At the start of the movie, there are like these 2 black people who come in and they do some work on their like plumbing work or something, and his wife gives them like 2 glasses of lemonade or something before they leave, and Viggo notices this, and after they leave, and after his wife kind of leaves the kitchen, he goes. She had put the glasses in the sink. He pulls the glasses out and puts them in the trash can, and it's just like small things like that where it's kind of like. His character is racist, and the transformation that occurs. It's just interesting because like the movie puts Don Shirley and this character and a car together. Who it's essentially a road trip movie down south, and the conversations that they have are interesting, and I don't want to spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it. But there's transformations occur, and I definitely see the criticisms with how it's with the white savior comments about the film. I see those criticisms, but I could also the what's interesting is the director of the film. I think wrote. I mean, the dude I think wrote a bunch of comedy movies, and he's mostly known for comedy movies. And I think he wrote Dumb and Dumber, if I'm not mistaken, which is interesting. But yeah, it's definitely a good movie. I see the criticisms that people have about the film, but I wouldn't necessarily brush it off. I think that it has something. There's the transformations that occur are powerful near the end of the film. I would almost akin it to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Like at the end, it's not like it's near the end of the film. It takes place. The end of the film is the Christmas time, and it's like this nice and heartfelt thing that happens. But it's a good movie. Check it out. The performances are great, and Mahershala Ali is somebody who I think is a phenomenal actor, and I look up to him. So going off of that, saw another movie called Living in Oblivion with Steve Buscemi, who's like the only notable person in that film who I recognized. But it's essentially, to quickly go over it, essentially what the film is about is Steve Buscemi is a director who's trying to direct this movie, and a lot of things go wrong as you would expect on a film set. I mean, watching that movie kind of brought back anxieties, things that just things that go wrong, and there's so what's interesting about the film is like so I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe the structure of it, but essentially, the instances where things go wrong actually occur in characters' dreams. So, like Steve Buscemi has a dream. He's dreaming that things are going wrong, and then he wakes up and he goes to set, and then he tells people that, "Hey, I had a dream that all this bullcrap went wrong." But at first, you didn't know that it was. You don't know that it's a dream, and that's how it kind of goes through character. And you don't know that it's dreams, but you kind of at the end you kind of get the gist that it's these characters' dreams, but they're actually shooting the film. They come on set and they express their their anxieties. But yeah, it was just interesting to watch because like they showed this film my freshman year at the Gish, and I didn't really necessarily understand a lot of it. I mean, like I understood the film, but
Mhm.
watching it after being more involved on film sets and being more familiar with that world, it definitely hit harder. It has a whole new meaning. Yeah, I felt for the characters more, just like the stresses of like there's a certain sequence where they're trying to get this one long take, and they would this calls action, and the focus was off, or so. And there's another scene where
Oh.
like there's like a car or a car that with like the music blaring that drives by, so they have to cut the scene, and like they get so close to that perfect take, but something messes it up, so like ultimately Steve Buscemi has to kind of compromise the long take that he has in mind with like a bunch of shots. And I'm just like, that's so true, because that's usually what happens, especially when you have like a ambitious shot. Sometimes
Right.
you just have to compromise, and there's a lot of frustrations and compromises that but it just did a really good job capturing that feeling of being on set. And I think it's also on HBO Go, so check it out if you have the chance. And
Okay.
if you're interested in film production in any way.
That'd be interesting. I'd
But yeah,
definitely watch it.
It's
Yeah.
called Living in
Yeah,
Oblivion.
sounds
Bro.
cool.
Yeah, Living in Oblivion. Yeah.
I'm adding it to my HBO Max list right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do it.
And Steve Buscemi.
I will
it's
do the
somewhat-
same.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi, I only know from the Spy Kids movies, so
Spy Kids 2.
and
he's
3.
decided-
He's in 3.
He's in
Oh,
three.
he's in-
I
Yeah,
think
he's in. He. I think he just cameos, but yeah, he's in 3.
Dude, Spy Kids Game Over, Tron before Tron Legacy. I mean, that was
Pretty much.
That movie is like I think about. I haven't watched it in a while, but I think about it and I'm like, that movie is trippy, man. Like,
Oh yeah.
like
The one
there's
with
some
the
weird
most-
scenes in that movie.
I mean, to a certain extent, all of those movies are kind of trippy. Like, come on, like the second one is like the scientist, like what's going on, and like the first one with the thumb people. I mean,
Yeah.
That's true. They're all trippy in their own ways, but like the
The third
third
one.
one is trippy.
yeah,
Like
I agree.
it looks like somebody is on acid.
Yeah,
Right.
That's what it looks. That like the
Right.
movie just looks like that.
right. Yeah,
The third one is
Constantly.
the ugliest movie I think I have ever seen. Like,
Which one?
The third one.
Oh
The
yeah.
third one, when they're in the game, is so atrociously ugly.
Yeah,
I
it
I mean-
is. It's an ugly movie.
I don't want to revisit it, but like that movie really, like when I just as a kid, seriously,
Right.
like I loved. I mean, just the concept of being in a video game and like kind of playing through these.
Yeah.
Playing through these.
Well, I loved it as a kid. I loved it as a kid.
Yeah, no, but I don't want to revisit it. I'm too scared to. I mean, any of
Me
those movies.
too.
I'm terrified to watch any of the Spy Kids movies now.
Yeah.
Although I don't know. It's really like star-studded
That's
if
true.
you think about it.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Elijah Wood.
Sylvester Stallone.
Oh,
I keep forgetting that he's in those, and those are like some of the only movies I've seen him in. I've seen the first Rocky movie, but
Right.
yeah,
I'm
and
happy
like
to
various
talk
other
about
things
that
he's
franchise.
cameoed in. But
But yeah, I mean, Steve Buscemi has some. Just to close off, my thoughts on Living in Oblivion. Steve Buscemi has some his acting really shines through, and there's some really fun sequences to watch. His kind of there are some sequences where he just erupts, and it's funny, and it's nice, it's cool. I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's
all right, awesome.
Added it to my
Well-
list.
Do it. All right, Caleb, you want to talk to us about? I think you have a couple of things you wanted to mention
I
today,
do.
right?
I do. Ooh, which one should we talk about? Do we do the Clone Wars?
A
That for later.
Yeah.
What was that?
I said non-spoiler if and when we do it.
Yeah.
All right.
I deserve this, guys. I've put it off for so long. I mean, the episodes are literally like 15 minutes. Oh, what are they, like 25 minutes each?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I deserve this. I mean, you got, well, it's not like you guys are gonna spoil it, so it's fine. I'm gonna get to it though. I promise you that.
We'll
To all
definitely
the
keep it
viewers.
spoiler.
I wouldn't want for a Star Wars fan, I would not want to spoil it.
No.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So
where do we start?
so 6 months ago, back in January, in preparation for the final season, I went back into I restarted this show from the beginning, and then and with the semester and stuff, it took a lot longer than expected, but I went through the whole series, watched all the way to season 7, and I just finished season 7. I started and finished season 7 within, it was a couple weeks ago, but within like a day. Going through the show again, obviously the first season, and I would even argue the second season isn't like the most perfect show. It's not. It's very a lot of filler, and even then, there's not exactly a full story being placed, but yet you don't really mind it within the first 2 seasons. You're like, oh, these are just some fun adventures that we can take these characters in. They're not similar. Most of them are not really similar from the other, which is good if you're going to have like fun adventure shows. You got to change it up all the time. But once you get into season 3 and they start doing like very specific like 3 to 4 part episodes, the story really ramps up and it gets really good. And season 4 is a really great season. The Umbara arc, I remember watching it as a kid and being like, oh man, this is really good. But watching it now, it is so much more. I understand a lot of it more, and it's more deep, and it's such a good arc. The Darkness on Umbara arc, and then all the stuff with Maul and the Mandalore with season 4 going into season 5. It's
really good.
It's really good. And then season 6 is like that fun season that expands more on lore than really like the story of the Clone Wars.
I remember season 6 feeling like the one that finally justified Revenge of the Sith in my mind.
Okay.
Like it finally sort of made that movie at least sort of work within the context of the story. Whereas like beforehand it felt really like it really misses the window in a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Yoda arc makes that movie significantly better in my mind.
Because we start to see a lot of this kind of started with the end of season 5, but it really, especially in season 6, we see more of Palpatine like putting the pieces together. Like he's making the moves, and you know that we're getting close at this point. And having all that set up really actually helped season 7, I think, for me in the beginning episodes. It's like the beginning episodes of this final season were like, I would almost say like the calm before the storm. Like it was like, it's like these are the just say the Bad Batch episodes. Like they're they're a story that sets up it's the last like Rex arc. Uh, it's the last little fun adventure we get with some other characters, and it's just like it just really it you have this feeling of like with season 5 and season 6, you're like what's coming and we're really close, and that I think having that full picture of the show and where from the starting to the beginning, I think really elevated season 7 to a different level than just what would have been me just watching the final season now, without rewatching it. And I think it was a great way to enjoy the final season. And I know I was late to it, like I was like a month late, but after the season ended. But I think it was definitely well worth the taking the time to go through those episodes and enjoying.
Really good.
What are y'all thoughts on the season?
I didn't go back and watch anything. I was just going off of memory. And I thought the first arc. I'm always down for a good clones story arc, so I was pretty into it. And we got some good appearances from like the Jedi and various other characters that I wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really good. And then the next story arc I liked, with Ahsoka and I can't remember their names, but the two
the Martez sisters.
The Martez sisters. I liked them, but I felt like it didn't. I didn't really want like an Ahsoka character development arc midway through the final season. Like I felt like we were kind of over that. So it felt like it kind of didn't go anywhere for those episodes.
I think with those episodes, the way, because a lot of that is getting the pieces together, but I think I also kind of like when I watched it, I tried to understand like how viewers felt watching it on a weekly basis, whereas I watched it on a binging basis. I feel like with those episodes, I only feel like they were good episodes, and I think that they really set up kind of the growth that we see from between season 5 and season 7. But I think it just goes on just one episode too long.
Well, we should clarify for the audience that this was not the way that Clone Wars was originally supposed to end.
Right.
So, for those of you who don't know, the Clone Wars, it ran for 5 seasons on Cartoon Network prior to Disney's buying of Lucasfilm. And when that happened, the show got canceled. We got a shorter version of the intended season 6 that went straight to Netflix. But after that was it until Disney decided with Disney Plus to give the creators one final season. With season 7, the arcs that we got, there were 3 story arcs of 4 episodes. The Siege of Mandalore, the final 4 episodes, that was always planned to be the final 4 episodes. That was what was planned.
So the Siege of Mandalore, without giving too much away, is probably some of the best Star Wars I've ever watched.
I agree.
I would agree.
And in the previous 2 arcs, they were actually supposed to be from 2 different seasons.
Oh, okay. But
I believe the Bad Batch one was originally supposed to be part of season 6.
Yeah.
And the was going to start season 7, to be sure.
Okay.
So yeah, Dave Filoni, the guy behind them all, he decided to pick when he was doing the final season, obviously he knew he was going to do the Siege of Mandalore. But when he was picking his other 8 episodes that Disney was going to let him do, he chose one arc that would add development for Rex, the Bad Batch, and one arc that would add development for Ahsoka because they're the main characters of the Siege of
Right.
Mandalore.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be a lot more episodes for this series that we just didn't get. Fortunately, most of what we didn't get is not like, I mean, even though it would have been cool, most of what we didn't get is
like it's out there somewhere, at least.
to Star Wars canon to see. Like, you don't need it to understand. But Siege of Mandalore was definitely something that we needed for the canon.
Oh,
Yes.
Definitely vital. But, I would say, I just wanted to ask you two, and before and sorry I cut you off.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Or I don't know if it's Caleb or Ezra, which one of you I cut off, but one of you I cut off. Did you guys get a chance to check out the those Darth Maul motion comics?
I haven't yet, but you guys can. I already know how Darth Maul's story ends, so you guys can discuss.
I think with those comics, I think they really elevated and not elevated, but they really explained. Well, at the end of season 5, Maul is captured by Palpatine, and you're left on a cliffhanger of like, what? And then the show got canceled. Of like, what's going to happen between Palpatine and Maul? So these comics explain what happened between the two, and it explains what Palpatine's true intentions are with Maul and the Night Sisters, actually. And
interesting.
Do you want me to start? Do you want me to talk about how the arc ends in the comics, or do we want to keep that spoiler free?
I just briefly wanted to mention, Ahmad, I don't know if I told you about these, but this arc was originally supposed to be 4 episodes of the show, but Disney later on, around I think 2014. Oh, did I cut out?
Yeah. But
I think you mentioned that.
Yeah, Disney around 2014 released the arc as a 4-issue comic book, and I was going to give a shout out to the YouTube channel is Star Wars Audio Comics.
Mm-hmm.
They pretty self-explanatory. They take comics and basically turn them into little short animated things where they take the panels and have voice actors do the dialogue and use sound effects and everything. They did the entire 4-issue series, and it's a great way to fill in that gap between seasons 6 and 7 that we unfortunately never got in actual animated form.
Yeah, it's a good explanation of where at least Maul goes between season 5 and into this newest season of. It just makes a lot of sense.
I will definitely say for every rewatch I ever do of the Clone Wars, I will be including those audio comics in my rewatch. I think they're vital.
I think so too.
Okay.
They're pretty good. They're pretty decent of a watch. Pretty good of a watch.
Clone Wars DLC.
Yeah. They're not long either. They're about 10-minute episode, 10-minute videos. They're 4. You'll get done within a matter of 2 episodes length of the Clone Wars, so it's not really that much of a taxing issue.
Good.
Yup.
Yeah,
So,
I just wanted to reiterate. I think that this doesn't really spoil anything, but the entirety of the Siege of Mandalore takes place concurrently with Revenge of the Sith, and to see where it ends is so effective
Hmm.
and like it just ties everything up in a neat little bow that is also really haunting in a way
Yeah.
that I don't think anybody could have asked for any better. I just don't see how it's possible
Like I
to want anything else from that.
right. I really like the end of Rebels, but there's something about this ending that specifically how both of those shows end. I think the Clone Wars ends in a much better fashion, and I gotta say, as a Star Wars fan, I think it's everything that you ever wanted.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, the only thing I will say is that in bridging the gap, and I'm sure they'll do this in books and comics and everything else, but I kind of wish they would have given a little bit more concrete details as to where some of the characters go before they end up where they are in Rebels.
Yeah.
But that's not really Clone Wars' job, because I'm sure we're going to get other media, because that's 19-ish years. I'm sure we're going to see other stories with those characters.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially
I'd be surprised if Dave Filoni was done with the sort of between 3 and 4 period of time.
I wouldn't be surprised if Lucasfilm isn't done with it in general.
Yeah, like I would imagine that they want to just like that, because that period is a very kind of untapped portion of, or not untapped because it exists, but they don't use it very often.
right.
And when they do use it, it's not very common.
Right.
So
There's a wide range of that time span, and we've gotten Rebels, which I think are like the last 4 years of that, and then Rogue One is obviously within minutes of A New Hope.
yeah. Literally seconds beforehand.
Right. The presumably Obi-Wan Kenobi show will
take place between them, yeah.
Take place, and then we've had Solo. Which, say what you want about Solo.
Order.
There is one important part in Solo that actually does elevate that time period.
That's true. The cameo at the end is
right.
important. They don't do anything with it, though.
In the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, that we see some of these Clone Wars characters pop up, because that's only
cool.
5 or 6 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot.
I'd be really down for, like, imagine playable Ahsoka in Jedi Fallen Order.
As like a DLC.
Dude, that'd
or something.
Be awesome.
Yeah, not even as a DLC, just in the game.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
I'd like that.
So I have a couple more things I was going to say about season 7, unless you guys had anything else you wanted to mention.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Nope, I think that's it for me.
I think for those first 4, I think overall, before I even get into the Bad Batch, I think this season, for what it was as a conclusion, like it wasn't every single episode we were supposed to get, but it was a good conclusion to the show. And I'm just glad that even though we weren't able to get everything we were supposed to, at least we finally got an ending, which is way more than we had before it.
Yeah.
Those first 4 episodes are good fun. The Bad Batch arc, they're not incredibly vital, and I do think the question it raises at the end, or like I'm trying to tiptoe around spoilers here, but some of the revelations of that arc are kind of rendered meaningless by the end of Siege of Mandalore, because we didn't get the other episodes with some of those characters.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, but
Like we were supposed to get an arc with the Bad Batch characters and Yoda on Kashyyyk, which would explain how Yoda knew Tarful and Chewbacca and all of them.
Oh,
But
okay.
we never got that arc, and so the whole "hey, here are the Bad Batch characters," we never saw them again because that arc never happened.
Well, weren't they? Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the Bad Batch in Rebels?
I don't remember. It's been a long time since I watched Rebels, but they could have been.
Like I
I
think
know Saxon was Rebels.
right. I think canonically it actually makes sense that because. All right, I think I'm going to. I'm giving away too much by that, but I'll rein it back a second. But I think that I'll let you know because I'm watching Rebels now.
Okay.
Again, rewatching it. So when I get to that point, I'll let you know because I'm pretty sure the Bad Batch is in Rebels.
And I need to rewatch it too. But anyway, yeah, thanks for letting me know. But,
No problem.
That arc I thought it's good fun. It's a good last kind of. It's basically the last episodes you get before everything starts to get depressing.
Yeah.
I thought they were. It's good fun. It's always fun to see Rex and Anakin doing their thing. I liked again dancing around spoilers here. I liked some of those early scenes in that first episode, particularly the Anakin scenes.
Mm.
Really, all the stuff with Anakin in these 4 episodes really adds to where his character is leading up to Sith.
Yeah.
Again, we all know where he ends up.
Right.
I thought it does really well with that.
Yeah.
Overall, good episodes. I would probably rate them like a 7 or 8 out of 10. They're fun. They're not vital to Star Wars canon, but you could do a heck of a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yes. As
Ahsoka
we've seen
episode-
before.
Yeah, we have seen before.
Oh yeah.
The Ahsoka episodes, I thought were fine. They were definitely reminiscent of the early seasons of the show.
Yes.
And that's what kind of bugged me is we were going into the final season, and especially with what follows this arc, it really just doesn't seem up to par with the pretty good beginning and the exceptional ending that the series had or season.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's clear that, like I had mentioned earlier, with this not being the original material for the final season, it's clear that these 4 episodes were not intended to be in the final season of the show.
Yeah, it feels like mid-season filler more than it feels.
This feels like I mean, it was clearly meant to be
event
like
level. Right, like it doesn't feel like it's really earned its place.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they were what?
You all right?
Did I
Yeah, I just coughed randomly.
Oh, I did not
good.
Yeah, the Ahsoka. Oh yeah. The Ahsoka episodes I thought were good. It's a
Okay.
reason to watch them because I've heard some people online saying when you watch season 7, you go straight to Bad Batch or straight to Siege of Mandalore. I disagree because while they're not as good, they certainly give a good indication of where Ahsoka is emotionally. Because we really, if you skip them, then all you see of Ahsoka is from right at the end of season 5 where she leaves.
Right.
Yeah, but that happens, and then jumping her right into the Siege of Mandalore. You need this arc to kind of explain where she's at emotionally and everything.
That arc is very specific on setting the pieces, setting the stage. Like even like we'll cut to even in that arc to other characters, and you'll understand why so and so is there and why so and so is not there. I think those episodes are very important.
I thought in that arc, the one criticisms I have, a couple of them I have, were I did not find the Martez sisters to be at all likable. That's no fault of the actresses. I thought they were fine. It's the way they were written was a problem, because their writing made them feel like all the time. Whenever I talk about Clone Wars, I always say, "Oh, it's a very mature show," but these characters
felt like they were trying too hard.
Feel like it was a children's show, and especially Trace, I was not. And that leads me to the main problem that I have with this is that this could have been one or maybe so it did not need to be four. Especially, I think it's the third episode. But did I cut out again? No.
You did. But...
Well, I think the third episode of the season or that arc ends up being completely meaningless because they end up exactly where they are at the beginning and the end.
There's only like one specific moment in that episode that's like, oh,
yeah, that's about it.
But that's it.
I think. But that's really all I have to say about the Ahsoka arc, is that I wouldn't skip it because it does add some valuable context, but it is much better, I'm assuming, binged all at once than it is week to week.
Yes. I can imagine like waiting week to week within those 4 episodes, and I could tell why people wanted to get this arc over with. It's because it's just that arc is very meant for a binging sense. Like it week to week, I think, really ruins the pacing. I think that's the sentence I'm trying to get at. Is like having that time in between can get a little taxing, whereas watching it all at once, it's like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? It's definitely worth in a binging sense to watch and go through. But for a final season, weekly, that's not the way you want to go, I think.
I definitely do think people have been a little too harsh on them as episodes. I don't think they're some of the worst Star Wars ever, as some people are making them seem.
No, I would highly disagree with that.
Good as the rest of what we got.
As someone who's gone through the Clone Wars in its full entirety, there's a lot worse.
And now we get to the Final Four. Ahmad, I promise I will not spoil the Final Four.
Spoilers.
I do not want these Final Four for you.
Yes.
Yeah, no, no, you're good. I've like I said, I've done this myself, so go ahead.
I will say, from the first couple frames of the first episode of the arc, I knew we were in for something special.
Oh, I knew. I went from laying down, watching it when I was watching because I watched the Ahsoka arc right before this one, so I watched the last 8 episodes all at once, and within those first few frames, I went from laying down to sitting up immediately. I was like,
yes.
I was like, oh, okay, here we go. This is it.
Yeah. I'll argue the first episode's a little slow. Like it takes a while for you to feel a little invested, but once it gets going, it gets going.
When we got into that first episode, and we obviously say, I'm only going to mention a couple details of that first opening monologue, but when we get in there, it's when they start off with where the
you cut out.
Yeah, I've been looking up like some videos here about I feel like sorry, it's still cut out.
Lucasfilm. Oh, did I cut out again?
Yeah. Sorry.
They show the original old 70s Lucasfilm logo before it rather than the current Lucasfilm logo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Such a throwback. And from the moment I saw that and then the opening title, like you said, Caleb, I sat up and I was like, oh, so this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I was like, oh snaps. Like we went there.
So I was immediately like, oh, we're really doing this, huh? Like it's
Dave Filoni went kind of hard on this last arc.
Oh yeah.
Like he did not need to go as hard as he did, but he did. He went kind of hard.
I'm glad he did.
Me too.
Yes, I'm glad he did too.
And yeah, it's just that first
I think
episode.
in the opening moments of this episode, you can see that.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like from that first episode, you can see.
Well, sorry,
it
cut out
went.
again.
Like it looks breathtaking. All four of these
yeah.
episodes.
Yeah, very pretty.
I would say the graphics really, the graphics were really nice in the first episode, but like they stepped up that quality for those last four.
The sense of dread in the air as it's going on.
Oh yeah.
Like you just because I mean obviously you as a viewer, if you've seen anything Star Wars.
Where would you rate?
Go down.
Where would you? Sorry.
You can just. No,
I was gonna ask, where would you rate some of these moments, and like in the grand scheme of things, just Star Wars?
Best Star Wars.
Like
top,
moment.
Like we're thinking tier lists.
Final
and
four
you go,
episodes are some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like it's up there with like Duel of the Fate, Obi-Wan versus Anakin, the both trench runs,
Luke versus Vader on the second Death Star.
yeah, Luke versus Vader, like it's up there with even all of the stuff in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That I really like. Like I think most of Siege of Mandalore is better than any of that, actually.
God.
I think.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you're saying it's up there with Canto Bight, huh?
That is a brutal misinterpretation of what you just said, of what I just said. But okay.
To be fair, I think it is
the like I was saying about the tone in these. What? Oh yeah, what I would say about the tone of these episodes, they really, I guess, it really lends itself to. It really lends credit to Dave Filoni about his sense of direction, because every single moment you can just feel the anxiety in the air. I think specifically my favorite episode of the entire arc is actually probably the second one, The Phantom Apprentice.
Oh, really?
Now, I mean, it's like picking it's really hard to pick a favorite one. They're all fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember.
But I think the second one, or maybe it's the third one, or is it?
Shadow's
one
favorite.
has the. I'm trying to avoid spoilers here, but I'm trying to remember
The
which.
second one has that cool window exploding moment, right?
You're good.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I gotta mention one moment here. It's as light as I can on spoilers, but whenever the lightsaber duel happens, that's my favorite episode.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
So that's the
I
second
think the
one.
last episode is my favorite episode because those last few shots are just spectacular.
Those last few moments of that final episode are genuinely haunting. Like it is literally, it took my breath away when I saw those final frames.
Yeah, man.
It's really good.
I think
But you gotta get to it.
I know. I was gonna say, sorry. My I just also, if you're hearing notifications from my laptop, it's because I didn't have it on mute. My bad. No, I've just been trying to look. I've been looking at videos and trying to retrace where I left off, and I think I know. I think I'm getting closer.
Yes. We did it, guys.
No,
I will say, go ahead.
So no, I was gonna say that's so I've been trying to. If you guys kind of got close to spoilers, it's fine because I've been kind of focused on getting to the truth, or getting to where I left off.
Okay.
I tried to avoid them as much as possible.
Yeah.
I think all I even said was there is a lightsaber duel, which is like, duh.
Yeah. If you know like which characters are involved, you're like, oh yeah, obviously.
Right.
There
I
will
will
be
say
a lightsaber duel.
the final 4 episodes to me are on par with. I know it's early because it's been within 3 weeks, and for me, and I'm still having that like Star Wars like high, but I honestly think that this could be on par with Revenge of the Sith and Empire.
Oh, so do I.
Like,
I wonder if Ezra concurs.
it could be
with
my
Revenge
top
of the
3 right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, what am I concurring with here?
I said that these last 4 episodes, I would say, are very on par with Revenge of the Sith and Empire.
I could get behind Empire in that, but Revenge of the Sith is too controversial for me to get into.
I mean,
It's on top with the heights that Revenge of the Sith reaches.
Okay.
But as a whole package, I can't endorse this. I can't. Not in good conscience.
Come on, Ezra. I mean, I haven't even seen it, and I think I agree. I haven't seen
Then
it.
you can't. Then you haven't even seen a single second of it. You can't. You can't make a call about that.
I've seen Revenge of the Sith. I've seen The Empire Strikes Back, and I think that, based on what you guys have described, without spoiling it, I think
That
that
doesn't tell you anything about Siege of Mandalore. We haven't even told you like who's in Siege of Mandalore. I guess that's not true. We have, but still,
Oh, and I told you guys.
watch it first.
Yeah, I think the last 2 things I was going to mention. First one was, Ahmad, if there's anything you can take away from this conversation, it's that this final arc is very, very good. I think that's,
Yeah.
I would hope so.
and I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys before. I think I might have at least mentioned it to you, Ezra, because I think I asked you for. I have been working on a one long Zack Snyder style ultimate cut that cuts together Revenge of the Sith, The Siege of Mandalore,
Oh yeah.
actually parts of the 2003 2D animated Clone Wars show, all into one long, like 4.5 hour cut.
It sounds wild.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I'm down to watch
I want to see it.
I've got all of the footage pretty much in order. My only issue is I'm having some issue with transitions, because Star Wars always uses those.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of hard to change a wipe between some scenes and then in place another another wipe on top of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you gonna include the sequence in Jedi Fallen Order?
I considered it, but it ends up being so jarring because
Right.
Cal is not introduced in the rest of the film, so it's just this random scene of Cal Kestis.
That's true.
Yeah.
I considered it, but it just doesn't really flow with the rest of Order 66.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I did include a couple of deleted scenes off of the Blu-ray that really actually, I think I added back in all of the Padme rebellion subplot. and I added back in a scene of them. I believe it's the scene of Yoda arriving on Dagobah in the end montage.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I added in, ultimately it's Revenge of the Sith plus some deleted scenes, just not all of them. The Siege of Mandalore, all 4 episodes, and the prologue is the assault on Coruscant from the end of the 2003 Clone Wars.
Awesome.
I'm on board.
Yeah, still working on it. The main issue, the one thing that's going to be jarring, is the 2003 Clone Wars was framed for 16:9, and the rest of the Revenge of the Sith and the Siege of Mandalore are in standard widescreen format. So it's going to go from full screen to widescreen, and it's going to be kind of jarring.
Hey, I've sat through the last night. I think I'll be good with some aspect ratio changes.
Brought it back to Transformers.
Always find a way.
Always find a way.
Luckily, the stuff with the 2003 Clone Wars all pretty much takes place before the rest of the film, so it's pretty much just that one big bit of block at the beginning, and the rest. It's also on actually, I worked on, in addition to that project, since it kind of fits with Clone Wars, a version of the 2003 Clone Wars show that fits in with canon. Because even though the 2003 show is no longer canon, I personally, in my own head, I consider it to be canon because there's such great stuff that happens in it. And really, it mostly, as long as you shift the dates a little bit, like for example, in the 2003 show, the final adventure that Anakin goes on supposedly happens right before the assault on Coruscant. But obviously, based on Siege of Mandalore, we know that changes. So I just said in my head, actually, the dates happened a couple days beforehand, and just shifted it over the timeline. Really, if you do that, if the entire show really cuts together into, I'll have to give you guys more information about this at some point, but I've got basically one hour and 15-minute block of the early years of the Clone Wars before the 3D show. And then I've got one adventure of Anakin that takes place after the 3D show, but before the Siege of Mandalore. And then I've got the bits of the assault on Coruscant that are included in my Siege of Mandalore cut.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's a lot of Star Wars that when we get back in the fall, I'm gonna have to premiere it for you guys.
Oh, I'm excited.
It's gonna be 4.5 hours of Anakin Skywalker. So
it's gonna be an interesting time jumping from all those different performances too.
Different styles too.
It'll be funny going from 2D, basically silent film to here's where the fun begins.
I think it's actually the first line in the live action part, or not in the live action part, just in the whole movie. Because the Clone Wars stuff, I think most of it is silent. It's all.
That's funny.
Oh.
Right.
On my Clone Wars, I wouldn't exactly call that a rant, but Clone Wars excitement.
Yes. Oh yeah. The excitement. Feels good to feel good about Star Wars again.
Oh yeah.
Been long.
All right.
I'm be right back, but y'all can continue.
Okay.
I'll join you.
All right. Well, in that case, I have a couple of things. Yeah, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. The first is, if you didn't hear, and I would be surprised if you hadn't heard, Hamilton made it to Disney Plus last week, 6 days ago. And I watched it. I watched it with my family, and I have to say, I am typically not a huge hip hop guy. I don't pay very much attention to the music world in general, but I also like the kinds of music that come my way is generally not hip hop. Not to the point where I exclude hip hop, just that it doesn't come my way very often. But as somebody who has not been a fan of hip hop for very long, I loved it. I thought it was. I thought the beginning felt like I didn't really know where it was going, and I wasn't too big a fan of the beginning, but it's definitely one of those shows that gets better as it goes on, and by the end you're like, wow, like I feel really emotional about this guy who lived hundreds of years ago that I don't really care about from an emotional perspective. And it's really effective. It's uh, it's only 2.5 hours, and that is not a very big commitment for a stage play. So give it your time. Highly recommended. Yeah, I have lots of good things to say about Hamilton. Have any of you guys watched it
I've
yet?
I've never seen it. I want to watch it now that it's on Disney Plus. I've always thought the premise was intriguing. It was one of those things that like I knew everybody was raving about. I didn't know what the musical was about.
Sure.
But I knew that everybody was going to see it, and that it was getting all these accolades and awards.
Sure.
But when I found out about what the premise was, very I still don't know too much. I mean, of course, I know it's about Hamilton, the life of Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
But what I found to be intriguing was the casting. How most of the characters are minorities, if I'm not mistaken.
Except for like all of the Brits.
The Brits, okay.
Yeah.
And like whatever background dancers they have.
Sure.
But I've always thought that was intriguing. But I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, it's cool. I highly recommend.
My experience with Hamilton goes all the way back to some of my first acting classes. Like a lot of my peers loved. Some had seen it, but most of them had listened to the soundtrack, and they had loved the soundtrack. And I remember over the years of just like how cool it was for someone to have actually seen it, and so it's very special to me to finally now being able to see it, even though it's not in its live form. I think this could be a whole tangent road, but so I'll keep it short in this. But I do think that it's a step in the right direction to allowing more live theater to be accessible.
That would be cool. That'd be really cool.
And I think while there is the argument that since it's in a video format, why would anybody want to go see it in a live theater? I don't particularly see that. I think it almost makes people want to go see something like that. Maybe not specifically that show, but another show. I think it really I think it'll increase a lot of the demand.
That's what I was saying actually after I watched it, that I felt like having watched Hamilton on Disney Plus, it kind of exposed to me how much of a shame it is that we can't go like and see things in the theater,
right?
Or go to see like an outdoor play or whatever. That exposes. I think that experience exposes that these sort of public viewing experiences are still really important to us. and like we pretend that Netflix is the advent of Netflix and streaming service is the theater killer, but it's not. It's just convenience
It
at the end of the
makes
day.
things more accessible to people. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, I mean, for me personally, I don't think I would have had the means of watching it. And I mean, I rarely go see musicals to begin with.
Mhm.
Besides musicals and plays, other than like the ones that BGSU puts on.
Mhm.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't seen Hamilton before, and I don't know how long it's been running.
It's been running about almost 10 years, I would think, by this point.
Yeah,
Hamilton?
Right.
Hamilton is a 5-year run at this point, I think.
Okay. I haven't seen it yet, but now that it's on Netflix or now that it's on Disney Plus, I think I'm a little more. I want to watch it now because I don't have an excuse at this point, especially with the virus and everything. I definitely nobody. So yeah.
I mean, the thing is like to get to a Broadway show it's very expensive, and when it comes to like the real big titles, it's incredibly, if not impossible, to get. It's kind of like the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You can't just go to a Broadway show. That's not something that happens. Samuel L. Jackson gets to go to a Broadway show, but not you.
Not me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's not the same as going to the movie theater and paying $9.
Right.
Yeah.
But and also watching it with the actors who Lin-Manuel Miranda who wrote the screenplay. Like I don't think if I would have seen a production of it, it wouldn't have been with him.
Yeah, no.
So or like with the original cast.
Because now they're doing the off-Broadway tours.
Yeah, right.
Actually, in Toledo, they were actually going to have Hamilton. They're still bringing Hamilton. Actually, they announced right when COVID started to begin. They announced that this season was probably not going to happen. They announced that next year they're bringing Hamilton to
the Stranahan Theater?
Stranahan, thank you. Sorry. So yeah, they're bringing that to the Stranahan, and I think that I actually think this kind of. I was going to try to go anyways, but like I think that seeing the original production and seeing the off-Broadway production, I think is going to be a really cool experience because not only will I get the original production, but I'll also get the live production feel of it. So I'm very excited.
Right.
Hopefully, if I could
consider. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, that was it.
I've been considering checking it out. I'm musical. Did I cut out again?
No, yeah.
Just for a brief second.
Yeah. I know my internet's been fluctuating so much, so I'm probably gonna cut out again. But I've been considering watching. I'm not a huge.
Yeah, musical.
Not big. I'm not big into musicals, frankly.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
fan, and I'm not like it inherently. I don't. It's a metal guy myself.
Right.
But I think my one major thing, and as like a big history.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in history as well.
Who likes those what some people consider boring, kind of like Spielberg Lincoln kind of movies. The idea of like a hip hop modern day musical about a Revolutionary War era.
Right. Which to me that almost
just
sounds
seems strange to me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The pitch. Lin-Manuel Miranda admits the pitch is not great.
Like, it's weird to me, and the fact that
it almost seems like the what comes to mind.
I'll give it props that it is a very diverse musical. It does seem weird to me from a historical perspective that only the British characters are, I guess, accurate
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think it's
Casted,
but
like I guess it
that
also
might be kind of the point.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like I'm also clearly not the audience for this.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the audience is
Musical guy, and I'm not a huge hip hop guy either. But I'll probably check it out at some point. I have my reservations for it, but I can see myself still needing to check it out just to see what all the fuss is about.
right. Same here.
Yeah.
I
It's
agree.
good.
To me,
I think it's worth sort of like if you're apprehensive about it, just like go in with a relatively open mind, and I think you will be surprised.
And I have heard that even though I have heard that even though I think it's what's his name
Lin,
oh no, I think David Diggs.
Hey.
I think I have heard even though he obviously looks nothing like Thomas Jefferson, I've actually heard he's really good as portraying Thomas Jefferson. So
Yeah.
if they're, I mean,
like all of the characters are well portrayed. From the perspective that they're like acting well as the historical figures that they're playing. Like it's not like they take the name Thomas Jefferson and put him as somebody that he's not. Like that's not what happens.
Right. Yeah,
Which is good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to me because kind of made me think about the last thing that sounded.
But I think I'm getting the gist of everything.
Right.
Oh.
I was gonna say, almost kind of in a weird way. I don't know if this is even comparable in any way, but like it reminds me almost when the Great Gatsby came out, and like how the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, and how it kind of hip hop with something that's like from a different era. And how that was kind of a weird mix. I don't know if you guys
I've seen it. Yeah,
I haven't seen it, but
it's an interesting mix. I actually really like the movie, but the hip hop's a little off-putting for me.
Right. Yeah,
Sure.
What movie is that?
The Great Gatsby.
Oh yeah, the Baz Luhrmann one.
Yeah. But no, I want to check Hamilton out for sure. It's one of my bucket list.
Do it.
I definitely will probably at least give it a try at some point because it's got a great cast.
Right.
Yeah. The cast is terrific. You kind of go to Hamilton for the cast and stay for the excellence. That's kind of what happens.
I do hold a little bit of a grudge against Lin-Manuel Miranda because in my history class junior year of high school, my teacher made me listen to some of the music, and so I hold a little bit of a grudge simply for that. But
Sure, I can see that.
I'm sure it's great, and all props to the cast for this successful show. And I mean, clearly you don't get a 4th of July Disney Plus release if you're not very good. So
Yeah,
Right.
it's true. It's true. All right, I have but one more thing I wanted to mention, and it's very close to my heart as a huge Sonic nerd. You guys don't have to listen to my ramblings for very long. I just wanted to shout out the IDW Sonic the Hedgehog run that's been going on for, I guess, a couple of years now. Really good. I think it's some of the best Sonic material I have read or consumed. Forget like exclusive to comics or not, just consumed in general. So the first 3 books are really good in their own right because the first 3 graphic novels are really good in their own right because they they sort of wrap up the game that it's kind of a semi sequel to.
Mhm.
In a really effective way, and then they reintroduce a villain that wasn't used very well in that game, and make him the star of the show, and it does a really good job. But then the arc after that, which we're still in the middle of, uh, is and continues to be probably my favorite arc that I've read in the Sonic comics. And it's about how Dr. Eggman creates a virus that he uses to infect the world and turn them into like his zombie robot slaves. And thus far, seeing how all of the characters deal with the spread of this virus has been both really really sad as somebody living in 2020, and also really, I think Ian Flynn, the head writer, has done a really good job of maintaining who each of these characters are in this really dire situation. Like, Sonic is still Sonic regardless of what's happening. It's just that the situation he's in is a little different than the ones you might have found him in the past. And so I just give huge props to Flynn and to the writers for making it's not over. And I haven't read the most recent comics because the graphic novels tend to come out later on than they tend to come out a little delayed than the comics are, so I'm technically behind. But I read volumes 5 and 6, and I reread them recently, and I was thinking, like, wow, this is like, I couldn't ask for any better out of what I'm getting right now. And that I think says a lot about how much trust Sega has given Flynn in this story arc. And it does my heart good to see that some of the comic original characters have actually made their way into one of the mobile games. So that gives me hope that we'll start to see Ian Flynn take over some of the writing for the franchise, because that would great. I think with him involved, that would be there would be some enhancement in terms of the not just the storytelling, but the scale of all of the games, because they've all felt very small scale for the past 10 years, and that's getting to be a bit boring. So yeah, I if you want to just jump into some really fun, easy to read, easy to digest comics that actually give you a really effective story, and a really and just like a really good time through and through, highly recommend the Sonic IDW comics. And then if you read those and you're like, I wonder what I should read next, then you can dig around the Archie archives for those stories, because there's some gems in there too. So give those your time. If you want a recommendation of the best one you could read, it's probably the one I would recommend the most is probably Volume 2, because like it's not in the middle of the best arc, but it's probably got the best couple of chapters in terms of just like a simple story that doesn't overstay its welcome, and it doesn't take uh and it doesn't take too long to get through it, and it's actually really interesting, the dilemma that these characters find themselves in. So highly recommended. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. Go read the Sonic comics. I've been saying it for a long time, and I'll continue to say it. They have been carrying the Sonic franchise without people even knowing about them.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. No, I mean,
Sawyer, you had a couple of things you wanted to mention.
I was rattle off a couple real quick.
Yeah, do it.
So over the last couple of weeks, there's been a couple of films that I've watched that I either didn't think I had enough to talk about for a whole segment on here on the show, or I just hadn't watched them yet since the last episode. So I was going to rattle off a couple of the ones that I watched that I've been pretty much a fan of, or just watched in general. First one was Overlord. I finally checked out. That is directed by Julius Avery. It came out in 2018. It's pretty much the Call of Duty Nazi Zombies mode, but made into a movie.
I've been wanting to watch that movie
So it's
because
Wolfenstein.
It is currently on Amazon Prime. That's how I watched it. It is pretty. I mean, it's dumb fun, but it was for the 2 hours that it was that I watched it. I had a lot of fun with it. It knows what it is, but it also takes itself seriously. So it adds this extra layer of sort of cheesiness that it's a dumb premise, but they play it so straight that it adds to the fun of the movie. It very much harkens back. Like, did you guys ever see Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez's Grindhouse?
no.
oh yeah.
Never seen it.
So I actually think that Death Proof is one of Tarantino's most underrated films.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. It's been a little while since I saw Death Proof, but I remember Planet Terror a bit more than I do Death Proof. But I basically will say that kind of tone of that kind of 1960s 70s drive-in kind of grindhouse movie is really, I think, what this is trying to go for. Surprisingly, throughout most of it, it actually is much more of a World War II movie for most of the movie than it is a zombie movie.
Huh.
Like
You're saying it's more like a war movie then?
Yeah, it's much more of a war movie up until like the last third. I guess maybe it starts to get into zombie territory in the second third, but then in the final third, it's all zombie. But that first third is pretty much like the core premise is there's this unit that is there's like a bunch of, it starts with a flyover of Allied troops over occupied France, and their mission of this unit is to go behind enemy lines in occupied France and take down a radio tower so that air support can't be called on June 6th, the next day when D-Day happens.
Oh.
Which I kind of liked the small scaleness of the premise. It wasn't like, we got to invade and take out all of Berlin or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just, we need this radio tower to go down or else our troops can't invade tomorrow. And it was refreshing to see, even though if it isn't entirely historically accurate at all, it was refreshing to see a World War II movie that it wasn't the entire stakes being the entirety of Europe. It was just kind of a small scale fight.
Right. Interesting.
I did like that. It's shot really interestingly. The cast is great. I can't remember the main guy's name. I'm looking at Letterboxd right now. I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, but Jovan Adepo, I believe is the guy's name. He was great. I really thought he was great in that movie.
Yeah.
I would love to see more of his work because he really sold the character, and I mean, obviously, in a Nazi zombie war movie, you're not really going to get a whole lot of character development.
Right.
But the little bit of character that they give him, he really excels with, and you care for him despite the fact that pretty much everybody in this movie is zombie food.
Yeah. They cater to the B movie fans.
Yeah, same with Wyatt Russell. Wyatt Russell's great in it too.
Yeah, Wyatt Russell.
Wyatt Russell.
He's a kid.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking up like what else he's been in because he's familiar, but
I know him mainly from 22 Jump Street, that he was really good in.
right.
He was hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He was in an episode of Black Mirror.
Oh, that's right.
Season 3.
He's in Ingrid Goes West, which I loved. It's an underrated film.
That does it for Overlord, I would say. If you get a chance, it's on Amazon Prime. If you have it, if you're not squeamish, give it a watch. It's a good, dumb, fun time. That it pretty much, if you watch the trailer that has AC/DC's Hell's Bells over it, you figure out immediately the tone that this movie is going for.
Okay.
That's awesome.
What I watched was the Nicolas Cage year 2000 version of Gone in 60 Seconds. It is, despite the fact that it came out in 2000, it is so obviously a 90s movie. It goes right up in there with like Con Air and The Rock and Face Off, with all of those Nicolas Cage 90s movies.
90s movies.
Not much to say about this other than it's dumb, it's fun, got a good soundtrack, and the cars are pretty. That's about it.
Awesome.
Um,
Much Fast and Furious with Nick Cage.
Pretty much. Man from U.N.C.L.E. I rewatched that.
How's that?
Aesthetically, I love how this movie looks.
Because I remember
It really gets the Cold War aesthetic down correctly.
right.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember watching it when it first came out, and I was disappointed.
I remember watching it when it first came out, but when it first came out, I was 15, so I enjoyed being able to watch it nowadays from a more, I guess, with my current film knowledge.
Right. Yeah. Like
Uh,
a while ago.
yeah, plus the cast, I mean, travel or
Action comedy, huh?
yeah.
Um,
I'll come back to a couple of people that I know. I'll talk more about.
right.
I saw Fright Night yesterday. The 2011 San Antonio was pretty good. I mean, it's dumb, but had a good time.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'd like to. This is like I think. Yeah. Well, Henry Cavill was kind of on the rising or up and coming here. Guy Ritchie directed it. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie's like a person you hire if you want to make like C+ movies. I think. Not to roast him, but it's the thing. Like, I mean, he made Aladdin. I mean, directed Aladdin, which and The Gentleman he came out with recently, which I haven't seen. It just seemed like The Gentleman was just the American version of The Kingsman, almost. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about his filmography or his films. You know what? I'd like to rewatch the latest Mission Impossible. That's what I'd like to rewatch.
He didn't do Guy Ritchie, did he?
No, not Guy Ritchie. No, I was just thinking about Henry Cavill. I was thinking about Henry Cavill. In the latest Impossible.
I will say, I love the latest Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I recently rewatched it a couple weeks ago. The score is definitely a ripoff off of The Dark Knight Rises. But other than that, I really like it. I think it's probably my favorite Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. no.
Okay.
But a lot
Um,
of that rides on the context of the previous films.
Yeah.
There's a couple on my letterbox. I'm just gonna read off the stars that I gave them and their title, and if you guys want to hear about my thoughts on it, you can let me know.
Yeah.
Do it.
Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox, 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
Batman Gotham by Gaslight, 3 out of 5 stars.
Ooh.
Legion, 2 stars out of 5, with my quote being, "I'm not quite sure what happened, but the lore is pretty neat, I guess." Beverly Hills Cop
2
2,
points for lore.
2 points for lore. Beverly Hills Cop 2, 3 stars. Beverly Hills Cop 1, 3.5 stars. Extraction with Chris Hemsworth, 3 stars. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, 2 stars. Dwayne Johnson's Hercules, 2.5 stars.
Oh, I remember that one. Oh God.
Rush Hour 1 and 2 got 3 stars. Rush Hour 3 got 2 stars. Doctor Sleep got 2.5 stars.
Wait a second. Rush Hour 3 got the 2 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
got
about.
2 stars for the Eiffel Tower fight. That's what I got 2 stars for.
I just remember the they used war. Huh? What is it good for at the end? That's all I really remember from the movie.
Disturbia, underrated film, gave it 3 stars.
Is that with the Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I watched From Dusk Till Dawn. Maybe it was because I was tired and hungry, but I only gave it 2.5 stars.
That would be a crazy movie. Tired and hungry. 1 a.m. That's definitely like B movie. I mean, it's I don't know how you like Grindhouse.
I think my main criticism of that was, outside of Harvey Keitel and Juliette Lewis's characters, no one in the movie was really likable. So that kind of hurt.
Yeah, no, I have this. I haven't seen that. I'm sure that score is spot on. I haven't seen the movie in so long. I just remember the twist was with the vampires.
Yeah. And I watched Ben Affleck's Paycheck, 2.5 stars.
Okay.
Days of Thunder, 3 stars. Watched it for the 30th anniversary this year. It's basically Top Gun with race cars, but it's pretty good.
Oh, you said up with.
It's Top Gun with race cars.
Oh.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's a NASCAR movie with Michael Rooker and Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of underrated. I actually recommend it.
Hmm.
And I watched Lockout with Guy Pearce.
Yeah. I
This
remember
movie is a guilty pleasure of mine. I only gave it 3 stars on my letterbox. Like, it's not perfect, but it's dumb, but it's extremely fun.
It's dude. I think I remember I rented that from a Blockbuster Redbox thing. I was outside of a gas station. That's oddly specific, but I just remember the premise is like it's just a premise movie. You know, it's like one of those big premise kind of.
This
film.
movie is 100%. It's just Escape from New York in space.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
I don't really know how else to describe it other than it's Escape
That's
from New
funny.
York in space.
Yeah.
And instead of the president, it's the president's daughter, which is real original.
Yeah, they really put the script on that one.
Yeah. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, 3 out of 5 stars. Impressed that they were able to get all the references in that movie. Addams Family Values, 3.5 stars. Liam Neeson Nonstop, 3 stars. Us, Jordan Peele's Us, 2.5 stars. Probably a controversial opinion there. But
Yeah.
We got the hot takes from
Yeah.
Sawyer.
Yeah, I respect it.
I rated Rush Hour 2 higher than I rated Us.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm sorry.
I'll come back to Us.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Top Gun, 2.5 stars. Beowulf, the animated one, 3 stars. Very underrated. I actually enjoyed that film, and I really like the soundtrack.
Yeah.
The CG hasn't aged very well, but I mean, it looks like a PS3 cutscene.
Oh yeah.
But it for what it is. It's good, and it's a fun watch. Last ones are, I watched Superman Doomsday, 3 stars.
Ooh.
Okay.
And last but not least, I think I'm on the last one here. After that saga that I just last two. Top Gun I gave 2.5 stars, and I gave Knives Out 3 stars.
3
You only
stars.
gave Knives Out 3 stars?
3 stars out of 5.
Man,
Okay.
these are some hot takes, man.
Whoa.
So, out of those that I just listed, which ones do you want me to go into first?
I want to know what you thought of Knives Out.
Yeah.
So, you know my
I think
past contentious relationship with Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
I think I know what some of your criticisms are going to be, I think. But yeah, go ahead.
I think
Yes.
our good friend, I'm going to give you a shout out here, Matt Rasmussen. I think he and I's opinions on some of this stuff pretty much will see eye to eye. Because I remember talking with him about it. That's inside baseball for those of you listening. I thought visually the movie looks amazing. I watched a video about how it's, even though it was shot digitally, they used some techniques to make it look like it was shot on film.
Right.
I thought, like, whoever the DP was, he did a fantastic job.
That would have been Steve Yedlin.
Steve, yep. So he's the same cinematographer who's worked with him for pretty much all of his movies.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I thought the cast, when they were used, I thought were great. That should clue you in there.
So, because here, okay, I have my own thoughts, but I'm curious. So you didn't think they were used? You didn't think the characters were all, or the actors were all used to the best in most of the scenes, or what? I guess what scenes were the weakest for you? I guess.
Well, I think for me, I'll start off with I really liked Daniel Craig.
Right.
I thought I
Yes.
really actually see more movies with that character.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, we're getting a sequel.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're getting more.
I think I really like Ana de Armas. I've liked her ever since I saw her in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
She was great in this. I do think I got really excited in the first couple, I think like the first 30 minutes, because that scene specifically where Lakeith Stanfield's character is interviewing all the family members and they're basically just throwing each other under the bus and they're giving all their testimonies was actually probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
Because every actor gets to basically be themselves and play up their own.
Interesting. Yeah.
Really, after this scene, once they drop the whole, can we do spoilers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoilers away.
Once they drop the
Spoilers
whole
for Knives Out.
Armis thing that she did it, and then the rest of the movie is basically her trying to outwit Daniel Craig. That's when I started to dislike it. I mean, obviously, it doesn't end up being her; it was Chris Evans, but it. I liked it when they kept you guessing on which family member it was, even though I already knew who it was. When they just flat out it being a movie about Ana de Armas trying to hide the evidence, it wasn't as interesting to me. Now, maybe that came down to the fact that I already knew who it was going in, so my viewing experience was a little compromised. But
Wait, were you spoiled about who actually ends up getting?
talked about this movie on the show before. I think I told you guys to spoil it when we talked about it last time.
Oh, sorry.
I
No,
see.
it's cool. I mean, it didn't bother me that much because I wasn't really planning on seeing it until I saw it on Amazon Prime and was like, you know what? Sure, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm glad you watched it. I mean, some people don't watch it because don't want to watch it because there's two major comments, I think. One being Ryan Johnson. People just don't want to watch a Ryan Johnson movie because of what Star Wars. into the political undertones that occur throughout some of the middle parts of the film.
If I would call the politics of this film undertones.
I mean, here's the
They're
thing.
pretty explicit about.
Come on, like it goes with like the entire theme of, or not one of the themes of the film. I mean, I definitely do think that's for people it's a valid criticism, but for me, I didn't find that too.
Yeah, I didn't find it that. Yeah.
And that actually leads me into a couple of my criticisms. First thing, but I'll give one more positive, is that I do think when the comedy is in here, it is funny when they actually have.
I mean, dude, I'm telling you, like Daniel Craig got snubbed. He
did.
Like, I don't know, it's just his inflection, like his just CSI KFC, like it's just I don't know.
At the end, where when he's unraveling the whole truth to Lakeith Stanfield's character about Chris Evans. I love that.
I rewatched it yesterday, and that scene still puts such a big smile on my face. I just love his acting. It just
and I love his inflection when he talks about it. He says, "Oh yeah, for the Nazi boy in the bathroom." The whole scene is just, the way he says that is so funny to me.
Sweet dreams. He's so quotable. Like it's just like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought. I also really liked some of the, from what I learned later, was improv, like especially Michael Shannon. I always love Michael Shannon, but
Right.
I'm not going to repeat some of the lines on this show, but it was some of the things he says just crack up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My main criticisms, I think, were, one, I think this movie thinks it is much more clever than it really is. Yeah.
No, I mean that's total. That's I could see. Here's the thing. I just feel bad that we spoil. I don't know.
No, it's completely fine. I also think, like, I mean, I watched this film wanting to know what all the fuss was about, and I think I was still able to ascertain that from my viewing.
Right. Yeah, and then I don't know. I definitely I love the movie. I mean, yeah, of course, like that's what you think, and that's perfectly valid. And to a certain extent, yeah, I feel like whodunits usually are. Do you think? I don't know. Like the last whodunit that I've seen is probably Clue. That was like a really long time ago. But I just think that it was just a fresh take on the.
I will agree with that. It is very much a fresh take.
Right.
I think mainly my thing was, like, and I do still think it is a smart movie. I just think throughout the whole movie, I can just almost feel Rian Johnson being like, I can almost feel him talking to the audience of like, oh, look how clever I am in some of the movie.
Right.
Or just like I also thought, like you had mentioned earlier, Ezra, that the political undertones are they're much more overtones than they are undertones.
Yeah.
Like I don't have an issue with movies getting political necessarily, as long as it's justified. And I do think with this movie, with what Rian Johnson was trying to do, I think it was justified. I do think some of the scenes, it kind of comes out of nowhere. Like when they have the whole, well, I guess it kind of makes sense for Ana de Armas's character, but some of the stuff about the Trump stuff with that was the middle. It's just like, it's just all really necessary.
Right. That was more explicit. I mean, I was just really, when I was referring to undertones, I was just referring to some of the more comical moments where like each character would get her country of origin wrong, like just one. Right. I thought that was kind of funny, but that's not really political. It's more so just, I mean, it's kind of just commenting on how absurd some people are. But
I do like, how they kind of parodied both sides when they have Catherine Langman's character and they say, "Oh, your grandpa's paying for your SJW degree."
I mean,
pretty funny.
You mentioned like how smart Rian Johnson, how like clever he thinks this like screenplay is, and in a way, I feel like maybe I don't want to say that was intentional, but I just one aspect of the movie that I liked was how aware it was in a way, like the Watson reference.
Mhm.
There was there was some other references to like, I think there was a reference to Clue, like a Clue board, like it looks like.
Pretty sure there was, yeah.
Yeah, I think there was.
So like I just think that kind of maybe paying more homage to those the genre, which I feel like some of the favorite film my favorite films are like movies that this is kind of Quentin Tarantino in a nutshell, but like movies that kind of revitalize something that people thought was dead, genre that people thought was dead, like the whodunit.
Yeah, like I read an article around this when this was coming out in November that this movie is basically poking fun at the people who hated on The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Doing the movie from that perspective, I can kind of see where he's coming from, but I also more of him addressing the election than it is him addressing The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I never really felt like there was like a direct address against to fans against The Last Jedi, and as someone who does not like The Last Jedi, I never felt like that was like anything that was specifically directed towards that type of thing.
The only thing I can see even being remotely around that is the Michael Shannon's kid's character in the movie where he's like the troll.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I could kind of see that being the moment. But other than that, I didn't really see much.
Yeah.
But
I liked it. It just, I think it, I would definitely see a sequel, and I thought all the cast was great. And I should clarify, I do like Rian Johnson. I think Looper's great, and I do think there is a lot of great in The Last Jedi. Do I think it all is 100% great? No. But I do think there is a lot of good there.
Right.
And I do think he is a very talented director, and I'm looking more from him. I don't think he totally stuck the landing with Knives Out, but I do think it is an enjoyable time with a great cast and great visuals.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought it sort of talked down to the audience.
Yeah.
My own joke instead of like criticism.
I mean, yeah, I just some of the best acting last year that for sure was in that movie.
For sure.
I mean, you mentioned the casting, and I actually think the casting is almost perfect. I just feel like they played off each other so well. In some sequences, like that was just so entertaining. And you mentioned like the scenes where they were interviewed in the beginning, where where the family was being interviewed for the first time. And that's like it's interesting that you mentioned that that's your favorite part, because in a weird way I think that's also one of my favorite parts as well, because it just the hypocrisy that like the characters living in it. Another scene that I liked was when Chris Evans first comes in with like a little bag of cookies.
Oh, I love that too.
it's so good.
He tells everybody to eat shit. He goes like, "Eat crap, eat crap." Sorry, I don't mean to cuss, but that's what he said. Michael Shannon, I think Michael Shannon screams, he's like, "I will not be eating poop off the floor" or something. And
I'm gonna have to say it. His line is, "I am not eating one iota of shit," or something like that.
Yeah,
that's the one I was referring to earlier. Apparently that was improv.
That's awesome. I didn't know it was improv. I mean, it kind of makes sense because I don't see Rian Johnson like throwing that in there.
I think you can also see how much fun Chris Evans is having with that, because after having to play wholesome Steve Rogers for a decade, he finally just gets to unleash.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of weird seeing hearing Captain America just tell everybody to eat crap. No, but also like there are moments in the film where he's just like genuinely like the moment where him and Anna's character are in the restaurant, and he's like he just made her, or he essentially just had her eat an entire plate, and he knew her, that she throws up because she can't lie. That moment's like genuinely like he's kind of he's a word I don't want to say in that moment, but and Anna says it. No,
I get what you mean.
But yeah, no, it's cool seeing him play a character that's different from what he's kind of play for a decade, Captain America, and now he's playing something like this. It's cool.
Yeah.
And I come on, like the donut hole scene is just so good. I keep mentioning it, but
Yeah.
It's such a great scene. That's my favorite.
Well, I will say, just to everybody listening at home, I did still give it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not saying it's like the worst movie of last year or anything.
Yeah, no. I mean, 3 out of 5 is that's if it was 2.5, I'd say there's something wrong here.
Well,
this
I did give us 2.5 though. So that's the whole thing.
I wanted to, I was gonna say, I kind of wanted you to. I mean, no judgment here. Everybody's of course entitled to their own opinion, but I was curious to know what aspects of it you didn't really like. I
did enjoy it. I didn't like, and I guess this is also just my personal opinions, but I didn't love how the movie left me with so many questions. So I really enjoyed the mystery of the movie, and part of what I enjoyed in his previous film, Get Out, was when the mystery was finally revealed and you saw what the whole grand scheme was.
Right.
That was very interesting. This movie, I was looking forward to that ending where it's like, oh, so what's the end of the mystery? Why is this all happening? What's going on? And it doesn't really, it just kind of ends. It doesn't really give you that resolution to the mystery.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and I thought, like, again with I just mentioned with Knives Out, the cast is great. I thought all the characters were real likable. I especially liked Winston Duke. I've liked him in everything I've seen him in, but he was really great in this. And obviously Lupita Nyong'o is great. I don't know the kids' names, but the kids were great too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I think that this one definitely left more. I think Peele was going for more of an ambiguous ending, or more of an ending that would kind of make it seem more thought provoking, or which it was. Kind of had to think about what it meant. But I mean, I definitely I hate to compare these movies, but I don't think it was as powerful as Get Out. I mean, they're both entirely different. This movie was more of like I talked about this on the podcast before, but it adhered to more of the slasher genre. You could tell that he was really having fun with that, or kind of leaned more into that than Get Out, where it was Get Out was more, there was more suspense, but also like a lot of there was a lot of commentary. But
yeah. I do think that this movie, as opposed to Get Out was much more of a social film, whereas I don't think Us was trying necessarily to be a kind of social commentary film.
Right. Yeah.
There was more like a gather watching it.
Right. Yeah. I know. I agree. I love the scene where there's a lot of good scenes that I like, but just there was some genuinely terrifying scenes. I think this movie definitely scared me more than Get Out did.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It was much more frightening.
Right. Yeah, and there were some pretty eerie moments. But yeah, I do think that overall Get Out was the better film. But I don't want to. I'm not gonna compare them. They're both different films.
I will say there are some great shots in this. Specifically, the one that sticks out in my mind is at the end when the well, slight spoilers, but when the alternate version of the kid with the fire mask is on and he's backing up into the fire and it's in slow-mo.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Shot is fantastic.
No, that's awesome. That was an awesome shot. That was in the trailer, I think.
Yeah. That shot, and I also think as creepy as it is, like, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it, but that shot of them right at the beginning when they're standing in the driveway and Winston Duke's talking to him.
Some genuine, like, those are kind of just like, just giving me the shivers. And like the scene where the scene that occurs like right after that, where they're in the house and they're just sitting there, or like this entire sequence is just but also like it adds such a different meaning when you find out what happens at the end, which I didn't see coming.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming, but I also didn't fully get it either. which is, well, I mean, like I understood what the ending twist was, but again, that leaves me more with the more questions than answers type thing.
Yeah, right,
Mm.
right.
Which, like, I don't mind when a movie leaves you with a philosophical question, like Blade Runner. Like, that's like I'm cool with that. I don't like when a movie leaves objective plot based questions, and I'm just like, well, like, I wish I had answers to it.
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, thinking about it now, I don't really recall because I looked up YouTube videos probably about it, but yeah, I don't really recall as much of the what the mean or like yeah what he was getting after with the ending. And there's multiple interpretations.
Right.
Yeah. And I didn't really get the whole hands across America thing either, what that was supposed to be.
Yeah, I was also vague as well. That was kind of just like a little thought, kind of food for your brain to think about.
Mm.
But I think most of what the 2.5 stars came from is, I will say, for most of the movie, it was probably at a 3 or a 3.5. It's just my disappointment with the ending that really brought it down.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sometimes a bad ending brings down the rest of the work.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I still think Jordan Peele is a great director, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from him. I would honestly like to see a mix between Get Out and Us, because I think Us, at least to me personally, is a more of an interesting premise. Because, like, I mean, going into Get Out, we kind of knew what the premise of that was. We didn't know where people were disappearing to, but we knew kind of the general premise. I kind of liked the intrigue and mystery of Us, but I also think that for those people who want more of the social mix, I think there's a better way to balance the two.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I think that people like Jordan Peele are, I mean, with Us as well, but they're starting to realize that you don't necessarily not every movie you make needs to be some kind of social, kind of commentary. It doesn't have to be that. You could just make a movie that's a slasher film, or you could make a movie that's it doesn't necessarily need to be political or social. It could just you love this genre, so you're going to make a movie in that genre.
And I will respect for him doing this too. I read one article that says, like, Us is great, on a level of the fact that it's a movie with an almost entirely African American cast that about racial issues. Like, it's just them, at least from what I could gather, which is actually really good on this film. That it's a really interesting film, but it's not all about injustice or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I give a major props for that. That it's a major blockbuster release that is has an all black cast and is not a comic book or a Star Wars or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I saw that movie in IMAX.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I
think I've ever seen a movie in IMAX.
It was actually more terrifying in IMAX than I was.
I can imagine.
That'd be great.
I think that does it for all my letterboxd.
Um,
I know I listen, but those are all the ones.
Yeah.
As you can tell, quarantine has been good for a lot.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're cutting in and out there, sir. Yeah. Easy.
As you can tell, quarantine's been good for my watching habits.
Yeah.
That is good. All right. We are over time. By my estimation, we've been going
I think
for
so too.
a while.
Yeah, my apologies for that.
Oh, no
Oh
problem.
it's fine.
No,
It's everybody here shares the blame.
they're good conversation.
Yeah.
So Caleb, we'll talk about Kingdom Hearts next time.
All good.
Let's thank you so much for listening. I'm glad we were able to come back. Hopefully we'll make more of an effort to be more on a regular schedule, but who knows? Things are crazy right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it once, and I'll say it until I don't have to anymore. Please stay safe. Stay inside if you can. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Do the sensible thing. We're not out of this yet, and we have to look out for each other. So just do just a little bit to make everybody else's lives a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Right.
With that, Sawyer,
Right.
would you be willing to rattle off the social media platforms that we're on for us?
Sure. You can find us on Twitter at CASTCATE, but you can also find us just by searching the Lab Rats Entertainment Podcast because we couldn't get rid of our old Twitter handle. And then you can find us on Instagram at the Lab Rats Podcast. And you can find this podcast wherever you're listening to it now, as well as on, let's see if I can list all 7 of them here.
It's been a while.
Podbean, YouTube, Stitcher, Twitch, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcasts.
Woo.
I believe that's all.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Pretty much anywhere you want to listen to it, you can probably find it.
Yeah.
All right. You guys have anything else you want to plug, mention before we sign off?
I already plugged my extended Revenge of the Sith cut. So if you're listening and you are go to school at Bowling Green with us, you'll get to see it. Otherwise, you probably won't because copyright.
It would be very illegal for him to share that with you.
I'm not gonna put it online, people. Sorry, I'm not gonna break the rules.
Yes.
Yeah, no, thanks for listening to everyone who is listening, and hopefully you stay safe. Wear a mask.
For those listening at home, expect much more animated DC Comics movie reviews because I just got a metric ton of them at the store.
Oh,
So expect many, many DC animation reviews.
And I'm going to try to keep up with you in that sense with some of them. Because I have HBO Max.
It's close to 40 that I'm going to be reviewing. So,
Oh, good lord.
I don't know if I'll be able to keep up that way, but I'll get some down.
That's a lot of movies.
That is a lot.
They're mostly all about an hour and 15 minutes.
That's true.
Oh, man.
Most are pretty short.
That's true. You can watch 2 in a night and get a 2.5-hour movie experience.
Right.
I don't have anywhere else to be right now, so.
It's
Very
true.
true.
It's
Very
true.
true.
We're stuck.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
That does it for the show.
All right. Yeah.
All
Thanks
righty,
for
y'all.
listening.
Bye.
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 Sweet.